with an expert from Makini Herbal Clinic, Dr. Wanjala Willis Wangwe. He's with us this morning as we shift gears to this very, very important conversation, one that would appear as a tongue twister and perhaps not known by many. But then it's a disease in which the body's immune system attacks the healthy cells, as they say. And underneath this, then there are a couple of types that then we'll be looking at this morning. So, Dr. thank you so much for creating time. Health is wealth. Health is very, very important. And therefore, every Monday, we segment this moment to discuss the different and numerous cases of diseases that are there. But most importantly, advise the people on how best they can stay healthy. And therefore, as we get into this very, very important conversation, perhaps to start by understanding the autoimmune condition, pretty much of a complicated one, because underneath we have different conditions. And so as we focus on this morning, what would be the line of focus?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, my name is Wanjala from Makini Herbal Clinic. And for us to be able to understand the autoimmune diseases, we need to understand the immune system. We, as human beings, we have a defense mechanism because we are all exposed to the environment, and we can have pathogens, bacteria, viruses attacking us through different ways, either through the skin or through the mouth, or through anywhere. So we have a system that defends us, where we could call them, soldiers coming to ensure that foreigners don't get into the system. And so we are protected naturally through that. But there are times when, as we produce the armies or the cells that are supposed to protect us, we tend to regulate what is actually released. These cells are produced from the bone marrow, and at times, as they are produced, they are regulated, they are monitored. If at the initial stage they are realized, the system realizes that these ones might actually attack it, they are destroyed at that stage. But there are times when what we call negative selection may actually not be very successful, and some of those bad cells for the immune system may actually go through, and then later on now they mislead the body, and the body now starts attacking itself.
And so in these attacks, a couple of diseases then would crop up?
Yes,
How
because there are
different?
different parts.
Yes.
There are different parts of the body. The immune system is spread all over. We have it in different tissues and organs, like the pancreas, for example. When we talk about type 1 diabetes, it means that the pancreas actually has been attacked in such a way that it's not able to produce enough insulin, or whatever. There is actually no insulin being produced at all, because the initial cells that are supposed to produce insulin are already destroyed. So we have that at a pretty early age, and also at a young adult sort of age. So that's so based on the area where the autoimmune attacks, that's where now how we differentiate between the diseases.
All right. And so how do you get to know that, as a person, you are autoimmune? And, like we say, then different diseases would crop up in the body. Are there instances where a person would get a couple of these, courtesy of the fact that, yes, the systems are not in order?
Yeah. We, at times, may have a process going on in the system that will then later on manifest an autoimmune condition. We may not even be aware of it. But, thanks to developed technology, now we have systems like cytometry, mass cytometry. This can help us assess the possibility of you developing an autoimmune condition later. But there are times when symptoms come pretty early, and therefore, based on those symptoms, whether it is fatigue, like for people with rheumatoid arthritis, or even with lupus, erythematosus, you will find that you start getting symptoms based on what you are experiencing. For example, if it is attacking your digestive system, like ulcerative colitis, you will find that you are passing loose stool, you're feeling fatigued, you can hardly hold stool. And every time it's irritated, it's very painful, because the system is reacting to that autoimmune attack. So you feel a lot of pain. So all those symptoms will come depending on where you are being attacked. If it is, for example, the thyroid gland, then you will probably have an overactive system where you develop what we call hyperthyroidism. Then now you are eyes pop out, your heart beats very, very fast, and all that. So all the symptoms are dependent on the type of autoimmune condition that the patient may be experiencing.
And then one, would lazily want to ask, what then determines the type? At what point will these effects of the same then decide that this is the direction we are targeting? We're going to the throat, we are going to the head, we're going to the, certain different parts of the body. Just what triggers that therein? Because then I am imagining if this process is ongoing through your entire system, it would be, perhaps at an advanced level that one would want to understand that this is the reason why that this effect then goes to the leg, this effect then goes to a certain part of the body, yes, as opposed to another.
Yeah, the immune system is very intelligent. In fact, it's actually divided into two. We've got the innate and the adaptive immune system. Mm-hmm. So the innate system is basically, composed of a system where there is nothing really developed. For example, the digestive system, you can talk about HCl, or the hydrochloric acid, that also acts as the body's first defense mechanism when you eat probably something bad, either bacteria or any pathogen that you. So that one is just there. It does not think before it acts. It's just there, and its purpose is to act in any manner it feels appropriate at that time. But the adaptive immune system reads the signs. It is actually capable of recognizing a pathogen and then designing a mechanism that is appropriate to attack it, depending on where that is happening. And then the other aspect of it is that, assuming we've been exposed to this pathogen, whether it's a virus or something, this defense mechanism or this immune system will remember. If you are asthmatic, for example, and you go to the garden, you walk around, you come across some pollen grains or some of the allergens, which are thousands out there, your body's defense mechanism develops a memory. Okay. So almost all the time you pass around there, you will get affected. Oh. And it responds immediately. Then you realize there is something that's affecting me around here. Okay. So it is that intelligent. And like I said, if we look at, for example, rheumatoid arthritis, it is now the antibodies that will now, let's say, attach themselves in the joints, in the tissues around the joints. So when that happens, it is now when the body realizes or decides that it now decides to treat those cells as foreign. Then it attacks them. Right. It treats this as an enemy, and yet it's actually your own cells, your own healthy cells. Okay. So that is how it is directed. It's pretty complex and intelligent. And I mean, we're going to come to that in terms of whether some of these conditions can be reversed. But perhaps to understand, what are some of the diseases that would come out of these autoimmune systems in our body, and which ones are pretty much common? Yeah, probably one of the most common would be type 1 diabetes, like I said, where the pancreas is unable to produce insulin because the initial cells, the basic cells that are actually supposed to be producing this insulin are attacked and destroyed. Now, in that case, unfortunately, there is no cure yet. What we can do is just to assist in terms of managing the glucose that will be going into the bloodstream, because you need glucose to be able to get energy, and therefore as the glucose goes into the bloodstream, it's important that it's regulated so that it doesn't damage the tissues, but you also need it so that you are able to function properly. So that means that we have to get proper medication that can regulate that to ensure that it remains within a given parameters. We have systemic lupus that also affects so many tissues. It can affect the nervous system, it affects the kidneys, it can affect almost anything, and that has to be regulated. There is conventional medicine that can help there, but what matters to us in the alternative medical practice is to ensure that we produce or we provide phytocompounds that are capable of regulating that. Yeah, because when there is any damage to the nervous system and you are given specific combinations of herbal solutions, then you are able to handle such conditions properly.
Okay.
And as time goes by, we push for innovative pharmacology to be able to utilize such plant extracts and actually make such patients much more comfortable.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, and so through my research, I see that we have lots and lots and lots of cases and diseases that would culminate out of this. But then again, one wants to understand how's the best way to avoid this before it comes to the question of diagnosis, before it comes to the question of balancing, especially the immune system, as you say.
Yeah, given that some of these conditions emanate from a genetic background,
okay,
at times it can be very difficult to avoid that. But if maybe for those that can be caused from the environment, it may be from lifestyle, smoking, overweight, use of too much sugar or things like those, then you can actually manage that. That can be regulated if we can, rope in nutritionists to provide guidance for such people on how they should live. So we also have very good herbal medicine for immune balance.
Okay.
So what that means, because almost all the time you'll find that people are talking about boosting your immunity, boosting your immunity. What if it's overactive? How do you boost an immune system that is overactive? You're supposed to regulate it. So the best thing is to provide phytonutrients that balance it. That means whatever would cause them to be overactive is actually acted against. So that means you regulate the tendency for the body to be overactive, or for the immune system to be overactive. So that's the best way to ensure that people are living a more comfortable life.
All right. So any of the conditions or the diseases that will culminate from this that can be reversed in totality, or all of them, then are more or less genetic and conditions that you have to manage all through.
Yes, you just have to live with them.
Okay.
I do not see any of this that can be reversed in totality. Like I've said, we can only provide phytonutrients that are known to balance the same system. If it is something that comes into play during your lifetime,
okay,
then you can work on that. But for genetics, it can be quite tricky. But there is a lot of technology going on. In terms of studying, we've got genetic engineering going on. So probably over time we'll be able to say the DNA can be manipulated to a certain extent, maybe early enough. At the moment, I'm not particularly equipped to speak too much about advancement in technology on immunology, but we've got immunologists who can probably explain more.
But pretty much on a basic level, for you to understand how to manage your immune system, it would be very, very important then for one to understand what then the immune system is composed of, just to keep us up to loop as to the same.
Yes, like I was saying, we have the lymphatic system. When you look at our bodies, I talked about different types of, because the immune system is composed of organs, of tissues, and specialized cells like the T lymphocytes, the B lymphocytes, and all those. All these things have complicated physiological functions that are fairly too probably it's a science that is too deep for the general public. It is good if you have probably an academic audience to go deep into that. But we've got things like the thymus, that once you've produced these cells from the bone marrow, they go through that for evaluation before they are released into the bloodstream to be used now as soldiers that scavenge for foreign matter and then engulf what we call phagocytosis, destroy it, and then clean up the system. So as time goes by, I believe that through genetic engineering, we should be able to probably reverse some of these conditions.
All right, and we speak of the types of immunity that you've mentioned. Of course, the innate, the active,
and adaptive,
the passive. And one would want to get to understand the difference of the three. And is it different for everybody? And is it managed differently for everybody?
It's almost the same for everyone, because it is universal that you as an individual, you are born with the innate immune system, and then we've got the adaptive immune system. All those cells, it's universal for everybody. But now the difference will be when the immune system decides to attack any part of your body, whether it is the gastrointestinal system, whether it is the brain, whether it is connective tissue. That is when now it becomes different, that you are a victim of an autoimmune condition that is different from the next person. So that is how it's all addressed. Is
that what then informs the difference in terms of, the causes of it? Because again, through my research, I'm told that there's not quite a specific cause to the autoimmune diseases. But then again, there are likelihoods that there are people who will get some of these diseases. There are likelihoods that others would not. Like you say, some of these or a majority of these are genetical. But I would want to assume that there are people who've picked this along the way. What really brings in the difference that Linda could get this and Wills could not?
Yes, at times it's actually unpredictable. Up to now, there is no clear science that can indicate that this, for example, somebody with this kind of antibodies that are likely to attack this and that is likely to progress to develop an autoimmune condition. So far, there is no clear path to that. But we all now focus on the solutions because the problems already exist. We understand how they come about, but now the focus is on how to provide solutions for the different types of autoimmune conditions.
But even before we get to the level of condition, could this then be triggered by the lifestyle, perhaps regions where we hail from? And, are there instances then you'll tell people from certain regions or people from certain families or, people from different quarters of life to be a little bit cautious?
Like I said, if it's genetic, it is not particularly regional, but you can probably determine that by virtue of this genetic predisposition, then they could probably have this. The test that will be done can indicate whether there's an inflammatory process that may have started going on in your body that can indicate that it may lead to the development of certain cancers. When you study, let's say, oncology, then you are probably able to, or epidemiology, then you are able to determine whether certain cancers are more prevalent in certain regions, and maybe even go down to look at the individual behavior of the people in those areas and then say, maybe this is what's happening. But it's not easy to make a direct conclusion and say the reason why people from Western Province may be having these problems because of the autoimmune system that does ABCD. But you can tell that as a result of, for example, esophageal cancers, studies have indicated that probably people who are using a lot of hot tea, and that's in Western Province, for example, may be prone to that. But does not mean that everybody who lives there or who behaves the same will actually progress to get that kind of problem. So like I said, we can have indicators that there's an inflammatory process going on, because inflammation is actually the way the body tries to manage external attacks and internal attacks in terms of defending itself. But now when that inflammation is prolonged, when it brings what we call oxidative stress to the body, that's when you can end up with different types of cancers. But then those cancers will still develop based on your genetic, your genes. Okay, so you are much more predisposed towards that, so it becomes easier. Otherwise, it could be there, but it's managed by the immune system. The immune system suppresses all the cells that could probably turn against you, and you're okay. All
right, and managing the immune system, I know you've mentioned this briefly, but I'd love for us to delve deep a bit on it, and especially in the world of alternative medicine, should be after this short break.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to
And I
perspective.
believe that was God. 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit. Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you
TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back to the broadcast, and of course we are here discussing so much so of health, autoimmune conditions, pretty much common, yet not so many of us would get to understand this. And you know, perhaps you go to the hospital, diagnosed, and you're told you have this condition, and you really do not get to the bottom of it all. And therefore Dr. Wills Wangwe is here with us this morning from Makini Herbal Clinic to help us understand some more on this, and most importantly the coming in of alternative medicine as a remedy, or you know, as a way of making sure that we get to balance our immune systems, which then is the ultimate you know, reason why get to have, or we get to experience, autoimmune conditions. And so, Daktari, I get into this space. You were speaking to my producer right there, and you know, in layman's language, perhaps to ask, with the advancement of medicine, are there scenarios where we can get to cut these aspects of, you know, genetical conditions, in the sense that we say, fine, I understand that in my lineage there are cases of cancer, and therefore chances are pretty high that, you know, people down this lineage would be, you know, exposed to the same, would get cancer. But then again, with the advancement of medicine, can we get to a space where this can be curbed, the coming in of homeopathic medicine and so many others?
Yes, I needed to mention that when we talk about the immune system, and self-defense.
Yeah.
I would like to mention that even as we talk about cancer, there are certain stages of cancer where the immune system can actually destroy the cancer cells. And that means that if you have that capability, then you will never even know that at any time you developed cancer, for example, because it did not even manifest itself, because it was destroyed at a very early stage. So for as long as we are able, earlier on I talked about innovative pharmacology, which basically means that we need to have pharmacologists to come and look at phytocompounds, plant extracts, the sort of chemicals that we find in plants that they can use to be able to work in terms of fighting chronic inflammation, for example, because that is what may make our cells start misbehaving, and then you start developing cancers. So if we can get to that level, then we can literally prevent so many cancers, even among people whose genetic predisposition may not be in their favor.
All right. Okay. And so we speak of alternative medicine. Of course, there's conventional medicine. And most importantly, like you said, sometimes you get the herbs, which pretty much I understand how important they are and how huge a role they play in terms of making sure that we get our immune systems well balanced here. Exactly. And so how then does the alternative medicine come in, to meet these challenges and to as well help us arrest some of these conditions prior to them happening, and most importantly, for treatment purposes for those ones that have already been diagnosed?
Yes, that's a good point. As we speak, if you get a chance to speak to KEMRI, the Kenya Medical Research Institute, there has been a lot of research going on, and so far they've established that over probably 20 different types of plants that actually exist in Kenya have been found and confirmed to be anti-cancer, to be having anti-cancer properties. The challenge probably could be having further research and then moving up to start doing maybe clinical trials after identifying specific molecules, because the approach of conventional medics will be to isolate certain active molecules that have been seen to be working against this. My understanding of alternative medicine is not that an active molecule should be extracted from a plant to be used. To the contrary, on our part, we focus on achieving a synergy, a higher level of energy or activity of phytocompounds when they are left to work naturally together without isolating them. And this is probably one area where we may need to have some interactive conversation with conventional medics so that they are able to understand. And I normally insist that they need to be educated to understand the aspect of phytopharmacology, so that we can speak from the same wavelength. There was a time when the government initiated a program to draft a policy on traditional medicine and medicinal plants, and our focus was to be able to interact with the conventional medics. So, for example, if I'm attending to a specific patient as an alternative medical practitioner, and this patient is admitted in hospital for any reason, I will be able to approach the medical doctor and advise that this patient is on the following compounds, and they may be they may be contraindicated for other drugs. If there's no proper, if there's no interaction, then that's fine. If there's interaction, then he will know. Yeah. As at now, the only thing we know is that if you're on herbal medicine and the patient is supposed to go in for surgery, then they should discontinue herbal medicine for at least 2 weeks, because it has a blood thinning effect, and that can be very tricky when you actually need the blood to clot at the right time for the patient to heal. So you have to discontinue that, and of course after surgery they may resume their herbal treatment maybe again after 2 weeks. So this is the kind of conversation that I believe we need to have so that we can advance. So as I talk about the fact that KEMRI has discovered we have plants that have anti-cancer properties, there is actually no advancement on that part. One of the reasons this may be is lack of interest by the pharmaceutical industry to develop herbal medicine, for reasons I don't know, because I've always looked at it like a partnership. It is not competition. It's a partnership. Ours is to provide good health to the people. Right. We are not fighting to say the pharmaceutical industry must die. There are medical doctors who have come out and said very negative things about the pharmaceutical industry, but it has to be there. You cannot destroy it. We do not have any medication for emergency, for example. We don't do surgery, so we have to work together. And if the pharmaceutical society can understand what is there and actually learn more about this, we'll have no fight at all. But at the moment, we don't seem to see eye to eye. For reasons I don't understand.
Right.
Yeah, so I believe we need to get together and support one another. And like I've always said, if you believe that the product I have is so good that's a threat to your industry, just buy it.
Just
buy me out.
Okay.
You don't have to fight me.
Well, that's interesting. Dr. Perhaps one of the reasons why the fight is still on, and I'd love for you to tell us whether this is a myth or reality, is because there are instances where you've been told if you're going medicine, it better be medicine. I mean herbal, it better be herbal 100%, and that you cannot have medicine, according to you, conventionally on this other side, and as well take them concurrently, if you have a certain condition. Is it true? Is it that, perhaps one of them would weaken the strength of the other? Or there are instances you can comfortably have, all these medicines at the same time and they serve the purpose?
This field is called CAM. CAM means complementary and alternative medicine.
Yes. Okay.
If it's called complementary, it means it's possible to complement the pharmaceutical, products.
Okay.
When it's called alternative, it means maybe there is total failure, and this happens, that conventional medicine has totally failed.
Yeah.
Then now the alternative medicine can take over.
Okay.
And therefore, the aspect, I believe that when we discuss, or rather we argue or we present that kind of argument, it means it demonstrates more of ignorance than knowledge.
Right.
Because we are supposed to know which medication interacts with the other or is contraindicated for that matter. Just the same way we have conventional medicine that is contraindicated for people with certain diseases.
Right.
Yeah, whether it's autoimmune or something, you're told it's not good for you to use this particular drug. Yeah. And much as such pharmaceutical products may have very serious side effects, nobody talks about those side effects. Nobody even penalizes the pharmaceutical industry when the side effects end up killing a patient. So there are certain ethical issues that I think need to be discussed as we interact, because at the end of the day, all of us we're in the health sector. And like I said, ours is to focus on bringing products that will improve on the health of the patient. So let us interact, have a conversation, and advance it. Do research even together. Yeah, we provide products, we discuss their research methodologies, and go together so that it is as ethical as as the conventional system has already, because they're the ones who have now advanced far much more. But now, then again, when you look at other countries like India, China, they have extensively developed their traditional medical sector. So that if you acquire, say, a PhD in a specific field, especially alternative medicine, you already have a very conventional understanding of pharmacology. So you are able to discuss with other conventional pharmaceutical manufacturers very, very competently, because you are well equipped in terms of education. Okay. Unlike other places where they have not developed that sector. So once we develop that, we will be able to interact, intellectually, and be able to understand how best to approach specific autoimmune conditions. Okay. Because it's all on the human being, and nature has provided solutions for this. Okay. So that's the best way to go. Now that we have a new president, I wanted to mention, I must congratulate His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto for becoming the president of Kenya. I would like to remind him that based on his background of botany, this sector, we want to bank on him to bring policy in this country and be able to provide an environment for us to develop medicine from this sector. Incidentally, he comes from an ethnic community, which is rich in ethnobotany. And I would like to develop that, because I've worked in Eldred, for example, for over 7 years, and I thought it would be very important for us to develop this sector. But we can only do that, including doing research and stuff, when there is appropriate policy. And that will also help us get even foreign funding for research.
Okay. All right. And even before we advance on that matter, let's go back again to the autoimmune conditions. And like we say, an umbrella that, they are in incorporated lots and lots of other diseases. So when we come to the question of, curing, treatment and all that, what do we go for? The autoimmune imbalance or the question of a specific condition then that comes out of this?
For us to be able to address a specific autoimmune condition, we will have to focus on it. Let's take an example of ulcerative colitis, which focuses on the large intestines. Okay. It is devastating, but we have to understand the underlying condition so that we can address it. If we are looking at the glands, the thyroid glands, then we have to also understand the plant extracts that are relevant to that, because the symptoms are different, the parts that are affected are different. So we have phytocompounds actually designed, by the way, from A to Z for every autoimmune condition that you can imagine of. In Kenya, we have not researched much about that. But when I came to this industry 24 years ago, I decided I did not need to reinvent the wheel. So I went out there and studied and researched and partnered with the manufacturers of alternative medicine so that we understand what sort of plants. Like I said, some of the medicines we probably deliver may even come with more than 26 different types of phytocompounds, all put together, achieving a certain level of efficacy that is really, really high. So as we interact with the international community, let us learn from them and domesticate what we can domesticate, based on our soil science and stuff like that, so that we are able to produce drugs of our own and even set up for the first time probably industries to manufacture alternative medicine. So every part or every type of autoimmune condition will be addressed differently using different phytocompounds depending on the part. That if you cannot address, for example, an autoimmune condition that is affecting the nervous system the same way you would approach another one that's affecting the gastrointestinal system or the skin or the pancreas or the liver. All of them have different sources. The same way we have different pharmaceutical products for different parts of the body, for the skin, for the eyes, every part, for the tonsils, which is also part of the immune system, for example. So all that has to be addressed separately.
All right, and someone is asking, can these diseases be as dangerous to a point of, killing a person? I know I'd say yes, but then again, on a professional perspective.
Yes. The times when you tell someone that you probably could be having a heart problem because of rheumatoid arthritis, they will disagree. They will be like, how is that connected? Yeah. When you look at your nerves being affected, your brains being affected by autoimmune conditions, it can actually lead to death. When you look at lupus, for example, so many people are losing their lives because of the consequences of such damage to the organs of the body. If your organ is targeted by its own body for damage, what will happen? It just leads to death. So it can actually lead to death, and they do lead to death.
All right.
Yes.
Well, in existence for some years, like you rightfully put it, you've been in the game for about 27. Well, the first time I met you, I think, still was on the Makini Herbal Clinic.
Yes.
Just what of a difference has this then brought to the medicine world in the country for it to be in existence up to date?
I must mention that the general public has become much more aware of the benefits of alternative medicine. And what has also impressed me a lot is the cooperation and acceptance by medical doctors. Some of those who appreciate traditional medicine, their only concern is probably the qualifications of the practitioners. So that is why we've been advocating for our policy to ensure that the people behind the desk who are actually trying to address diseases or attending to patients are able, they're properly prepared. They're given capacity to understand specific ailments in terms of its biology, the biology behind it, the pharmacology behind it, and all those things, so that they give more appropriate medication. Those years, way back when I came in fact, I felt a bit embarrassed to be associated with some of the practitioners, because either they did not go to school at all, or they claimed to have inherited their knowledge of specific plants, maybe one or two plants, and said, this plant treats everything. That is where the problem begins. The minute you tell a patient one plant is going to treat everything, then we start thinking there is something wrong. So there is need for us to work together, learn from one another, and be able to develop this sector. We have a newer industry that is called the nutraceutical, for example. And earlier on I talked about innovative pharmacology. Based on this kind of thinking, we should be able to develop products that are acceptable to medical doctors, because they'll be able to understand the ingredients, in the products that you are giving them. As that now, if I have a specific solution for a certain problem, I am not likely to disclose the ingredients of my product for fear of it being, copied and taken over by somebody. So until we develop the right legal framework so that my intellectual, property is protected, we are still going to have a little bit of conflict. And now, we can be very comfortable to say, we either work as a team or you keep off.
Wow.
Which does not really pay
at all. All right. And there's a question here. One says, Daktari, how then can I improve my weak immune system? I think we've talked about that, but
yes, we in the first place, and this is what I've been telling my patients, if a patient calls in and wants to mention a problem on phone, I tell them, what we're discussing is a medical condition. And it's not easy for me to send you a text in response to a medical question. There is need for us to sit together. I would want to understand, why is your immune system weak?
Okay.
And is it really weak? Or do we have an autoimmune condition, for example?
Okay.
So that, as we said, instead of boosting an immune system that actually may be working well, we look at exactly why it is not working well. What are you feeling? Are you feeling fatigued? Is there a specific problem within the body? So I have to get your full medical history to be able to understand how I can bring that balance. Yeah, and that happens whether they are children under the age of 8, or children under the age of 12, or adults and post-teen, that kind of thing.
Right.
So
and
medical history is very important.
Very, very important. They say that there's been a global review of the same, and many have argued that autoimmune diseases are blamed on diet, first of all, the Western diet, so to speak. So I'd love to understand the relation of this diet and, most importantly, lifestyle with these diseases, and whether then these are crucial in terms of managing.
Yes, and I think this is where what we call nutraceuticals and now phytocompounds come in. Because when you eat unhealthy foods, you end up generating a lot of free radicals, things that tend to create misbehavior of the cells. So as we talk about the immune system, you'll find that we have specific cells that specialize in scavenging for free radicals. Okay, so food rich in antioxidants will go out there and clean up the free radicals that are likely to change the behavior of certain cells and create cancers and stuff like that. So that's how you end up mitigating against urban lifestyles. Yeah, to ensure that as you probably gain weight, if you get specific exercises, avoid certain products like too much alcohol, smoking and stuff, then you'll end up actually having a cleaner system and a much more stable immune system.
Exercise and all these other things.
Exercise is very, very important.
Yeah.
Nutrition, of course, is very important. Having vegetables, fruits, that's very important.
All right.
As we live in the urban areas, you find that there comes a time when we tend to even avoid green vegetables. We're just going straight for pizza and Coca-Cola and stuff like that, and you end up probably not having a very healthy diet. But you can always do that once in a while if you crave for it. But as you grow up, you'll tend to focus on more healthy foods so that you can have more energy and a robust body.
Right, and another person is asking, Dr. There are instances where you're battling, a disease that is characterized by the fact that, you really did not have your immune proper or balanced, and at the same time you're still battling another condition. How does one get to create, the balance? For instance, I was dealing with arthritis, and at the same time then came in COVID-19, and it was quite a difficult process and time for me.
Correct, correct. Yeah, there are times when you can have more than one autoimmune condition, and that of course creates a big risk to your life. But when you have one immune condition and then we have a pathogen that is also a threat to your life, then of course it's important to have that pathogen controlled as you also focus on managing the pre-existing condition. And if you can remember, most of the time the disease in terms of having COVID-19 was worse for people who had pre-existing conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, and stuff like that, and again, maybe a low immune system. So it became more difficult for them to handle that. But at that particular time, if one is able to balance the immune system as you fight the pathogen, then you are likely to succeed. But then it all depends again how fast you see a doctor,
A medic,
or a medic. So that you are, because people lost their lives even in the ICU when they're spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think again this is another opportunity where we now call for cooperation. If alternative medical practitioners like some of us can now, based on a proper legal framework, be allowed to interact with conventional medical doctors in the hospitals, then we'll be able to save lives.
Right.
So that partnership, I think, is very important, and it's long overdue, because it's just Kenya now. Practice of alternative medicine, let's say in the US or wherever, has been over 100 years. Whether it is India or China, probably it's been going on for over 5,000 years.
Right.
So the resistance by the government to provide the right environment for alternative medical practitioners does not make sense at all.
Okay.
So there is need for us to work on that. We are churning out students for biochemistry, molecular biology. These are the kind of people that can come here and develop this sector.
All right, Ann Shira is watching and says, let me get a hold of that, yes. She says, the good old Makini Herbal Clinic. Dr. Are you still available across the different parts of the country?
Yes, thank you for that question. We have what we call mobile clinics. We have a team of representatives. I've got a pharmaceutical technologist who travels around. We have a circuit where, for example, we are in Nakuru on 2nd, we are in Eldoret on 3rd, like that, countrywide. So if they can call in my number, I can give them.
Proceed.
It's 0722223326, 0722223326. Then we'll be able to advise them on where we'll be, if it's Mumias or Kakamega or Bungoma. We have a permanent office in Mombasa with my partner, Dr. Magige. It's at Arrow Plaza, Kenyatta Avenue. And for other parts of the country and even around the globe, we normally communicate on phone, that through WhatsApp or through Meet. We are able to interact, and if there is any medical investigation that has been done, you have a medical report, either medical imaging or lab reports, you share via WhatsApp, and we'll be able to actually send you medicine to any part of the world with DHL, or any other means of your choice.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Wanjala Wills Wangwe, for speaking to us from Makini Herbal Clinic, and also the point of focus, autoimmune conditions. I'm sure we'll be having more of this because we say, once again, health is wealth. And the more we have discussions revolving around the different conditions, the better understanding we have. How many times have we seen people being misdiagnosed and they take medicine only to realize that they were taking medicine for the wrong condition, and then ends up worsening their health condition. Sometimes the herbal one or the alternative medicine appears to be more friendly, because when you go herbs, it's on rare occasions that you'll find yourself being affected by medicine that was for a different condition.
Correct.
Right? So as we close, your parting shot.
My parting shot is for us to develop this sector. This country needs to develop this sector. I was happy to learn that a colleague of mine at the Pharmacy and Poisons Board is actually doing a PhD in herbal medicine.
Right.
And I want to believe that we need such brains to be able to develop this sector. And we will push the government and, of course, members of parliament to be able to bring a bill to that effect, to ensure that it goes through as fast as possible, because it's long overdue. I actually started working on this in 2003 when Mwai Kibaki became the president. And so far, so many other countries that were behind us in this now have policy on alternative medicine, while Kenya still lags behind. There is need for us to move. Time is up.
Wow.
We have to provide a solution. Yes.
The struggle continues. Thank you so much once again for speaking to us, and thank you for keeping us company as well, for the immense feedback. I hope that you have learned something, and as Dr. says, in case of anything,